Everyone, this is the editorial page reader. It's yesterday news from Times of India. Let's start. When will the dragon overtake the eagle? And how India will fare in this rivalry? For sure, the US China geopolitical rivalry will define the rest of the century. Maybe there will be a bipolar world defined by a bifurcation of technological systems, maybe a catastrophic confrontation over flashpoints such as Taiwan. Everyone is wrong about China. The myths and the realities of Sino US competition, author Brendan O'Reilly breaks down the US China great power dynamic into three helpful sections: myths, predictions, and grey swans. The myths section underplays China's aggressive maneuvers on the international stage by a clever statistical comparison with other countries. For example, that China has engaged in the least number of major conflicts since PRC was born in 1949. The last major one was against Vietnam in 1979. The 2K20 Galwan clashes with India are played up are the number of major conflicts that US and other nations engaged in. Statistically, this may be true, but it ignores the historical trajectory of different countries. PRC in 1949 was a fraction of US in terms of national power. Today, China has become a major power. There's no telling what aggressive turn the relatively younger PRC will take in future. Another myth, according to the author, is that the China engages in predatory economic practices. He points out Beijing is more opportunistic like other major economies. The problem is Beijing is fine with free market rules when it comes to its exports, but not when it comes to opening up its own domestic market to foreign players. Similarly, the author says China inherently doesn't pose a major threat to US but describes its aggression towards Taiwan as a somewhat benign carrot and stick approach. This is classic deflection and reflects Beijing's talking points. But where the book gets interesting is in the predictions part, some of which are as follows. Prediction number 1: Washington and Beijing will continue their controlled competition. This is reasonable and reflects current trends. Prediction number 2: Both governments will overstate the extent of their confrontation to expand their respective domestic authority. This is already happening in China under Xi Jinping and partly in US under Trump. Prediction number 3: China will not form US style military defense compacts. Clearly not true as shown by the recent Limitless Compact agreed between China and Russia. The most interesting prediction is that the China India China contention will supplant the US China rivalry. The author suggests that from 2K20 to 2K50 India, if it can get its economic act together and avoid major internal disruptions, will be part of a troika with US and China. In fact, by the end of the century, India could supplant US as the second largest economy. Washington having already been supplanted by Beijing by then, this in turn would see India China great power rivalry that mirrors the current US China tussle. Further, this means that US has a clear interest in intensifying cooperation with India today as a counterbalance against China in the future. Hence, New Delhi Washington ties, despite some differences, will continue to grow. As per the author, this may actually reflect a current anxiety in Beijing which thinks long term. Thank you for listening.